Now, first is rational numbers. So any number of the form P by Q, where Q is non-zero and P and Q both are integers, is a rational number. Okay. So for example, 3 by 8, 7 by 10, 5 by 4. So all these are rational numbers. Okay. Another way of defining rational number is either terminating or recurring decimal. Okay. For example, we can write 10 by 4 as 2.5. So this is a terminating decimal. It has terminated here. Okay. Similarly, if I write 10 by 3, it can also be written as 3.333 and it will go on till infinite. It will go on till infinite, and this is how we represent this 3.3 bar. So that means the number which is under this bar is the recurring part. Okay. That means it will continue like this. It will never terminate. So either we can say it is a rational number is a number which can be written in P by Q form. Q should be non-zero because division by 0 is not defined, and P and Q needs to be integers. Or we can say a number which is either a terminating decimal or a recurring decimal is a rational number. Okay, then second is irrational numbers. So irrational numbers is a number which is neither terminating nor recurring. Okay, so for example, a root of any number which is not a perfect square, a root of 2, root of 3, root of 5, root of 6, root of 7, root of 8, root of 10, and so on. Okay, then pi is also an irrational number, and 22 by 7 is just an approximate value of pi. 22 by 7 or 3.14 are approximate values of pi. They are not exact values for pi. Okay, similarly, if I say root 2, it is 1.732. And again, this, sorry, not 1.732, it is 1.414. It is 1.414, and it is also an approximate value. We cannot find the exact value of root 2 in decimal form. Okay, so is the definition of rational numbers and irrational numbers clear, guys? If it is clear, just say clear or yes. If there is some doubt, so please ask. Types of numbers. See, guys, then we have fractions, integers. Okay, both are parts of rational numbers. Both are rational numbers. Fraction is one which has non-zero decimal part, non-zero fractional part. Okay, if the fractional part is 0, if fractional part is 0, then it is an integer. For example, 3.2, 0.7, okay, minus 2.1. So here we can see that this part, the fractional part, that is the part after the decimal, is non-zero. Okay, while in case of integers, what we have is 0.0, 7.0, 3.0, minus 2.0. So these are generally written as this. This is minus 2, 3, 7, 0. If the fractional part is 0, generally we don't write it. Okay, so this is fractions and integers. Then fractions are further divided into two categories: proper fraction and improper fraction. So proper fraction is one in which numerator is less than denominator. And improper fraction is one in which numerator is more than denominator. Okay, so for example, examples of proper fractions are 3 by 7, 5 by 8, 9 by 11, all these, or 9 by 17, all these are proper fractions. Improper fractions, 8 by 3, 7 by 5, 12 by this 5. All these are improper fractions. Another name for improper fraction is mixed fractions. We also call them as mixed fractions. Why? Because we can write 8 by 3 as 2 whole number 2 by 3. Okay, similarly 17 by 5 can be written as 3 whole number 2 by 5 and so on. Then integers are divided into 3 categories. One is positive integers. That is starting with 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Then we have 0, which is neither positive nor negative. And then we have negative integers. Okay, that is -1, -2, -3 and so on. So is this much clear, guys? Numbers, odd numbers, natural numbers, whole numbers, prime numbers, and composite numbers. Even and odd, both are part of natural numbers. Even numbers which are multiple of 2, for example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Odd numbers are those natural numbers which are not divisible by 2. For example, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. Natural numbers are, you can say, positive integers only. Okay, so they are positive integers only, nothing new. Okay, so another name for positive integers is natural numbers. Then if I include 0 also in the set of natural numbers, I get whole numbers. So starting with 0, I get whole numbers. Prime numbers, this is important, guys. So prime numbers are numbers which has only 2 distinct factors. A number which has only 2 distinct factors. That is 1 and the number itself. So examples are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and so on. Then composite numbers, a number having at least 3 distinct factors. So examples are 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, and so on. Now just go through these different numbers, and if there is some doubt, please ask. See, prime numbers are important. You should know all the prime numbers less than 100. This is a important value. Okay, and question based on the first the prime numbers less than 100 have been asked in your exams in the past. So I'm just writing down all the prime numbers less than 100. Okay, so we have 25 prime numbers less than 100. And we have 15 prime numbers less than 50. You can see that here we have 15 prime numbers less than 50. Okay, then there are some very unique numbers. So 1, it is the only natural number which is neither prime nor composite. So for number to be prime, it should have 2 factors, and for number to be composite, the number of factors should be more than 2. But for 1, we have only 1 factor, that is 1 itself. Okay, then there is 2. It is the only even prime number. Very important case. And it is also the smallest prime number. So as you can see here, that 2 is the only even prime number. Rest of the prime numbers are odd. Or we can say rest of the even numbers are composite. Is this clear, guys? Can we move to the next concept? That is the concept of divisibility rules. Prime number. Concept is the concept of divisibility rules. The rule for 2 is last digit should be 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. The rule for 3 is sum of the digits should be divisible by 3. Okay. So for example, if we have a number like this, 8, 4, 1, 7, 3, 6, 5. So if I add the digits, that is 8 plus 4 plus 1 plus 7 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5. So what do we get is, this is how much? 34. So since 34 is not divisible by 3, so that means this entire number is not divisible by 3. Okay, so either I can add all the digits, or what we can do is we can add one or two digits at a time. We know 3 is divisible by 3, 6 is divisible by 3. Okay, then we also know 7 plus 5 is divisible by 3. Then we also know 8 plus 1 is divisible by 3. So finally we are left with 4, which is not divisible. So that means the entire number is not divisible. So here what you can avoid is you can avoid addition of the digits as well. Okay, you can look at 2 digits at a time or 3 digits at a time or a single digit at a time. And this is how you can find out. Is the rule for 3 clear, guys? Or is there any confusion? Number formed by last 2 digits should be divisible by 4. Okay. So for example, if we have this number, so if we have this number, so I just need to focus on the number formed by last 2 digits. So we know 68 is completely divisible by 4. It is 17 times of 4. So if this number is 68 is divisible by 4, that means this given number, the entire number is divisible by 4. So you just need to check the number formed by last 2 digits. Okay. So if 68 is divisible, that means the entire number is divisible by 4. Then rule for 5, it is very simple. Last digit should be 0 or 5. Last digit should be either 0 or 5. Rule for 6, again very simple. It should be divisible by 2 and 3 both. There is only those rules are helpful. They are relevant. They are helpful. They will save over time. Okay, so you will very rarely find a rule for 17, 14, 15, 16, every possible number. So we'll be discussing only those rules which are relevant to you. Okay, which are really helpful. So I'm not discussing 7. I'm moving on to 8 now. Rule for 8 is the number formed by last 3 digits should be divisible by 8. Okay, so that means if we have this number, so I just need to check this. If 456, if I divide this by 8, so we can see here that it is divisible by 8 completely. So if last 3 digits are divisible, so that means this entire number is divisible by 8. Similarly, the rule for 9, it is same as the rule for 3. So it is sum of the digits should be divisible by 9. In case of 3, the sum of the digit is divisible by 3, and in case of 9, we check it for 9. So let us say if we have the same number only, 2, 1, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, either I can add all the digits, or we can look at 2 or 3 digits at a time. So we know 6 plus 3, it is divisible by 9. 4 plus 5 is again divisible by 9. So now I am left with this only. That is 2 plus 1 plus 4, which is not divisible by 9. So that means the entire number is not divisible by 9. So instead of adding all the digits, I can take 2 digits, 3 digits at a time and check. Then there is rule for 10, which is again a very simple rule. Last digit should be 0. Last digit should be 0. Rule for 12 should be divisible by 3 and 4 both. Is this much clear, guys? Are all these rules clear to everyone? Yes, or clear? Okay. 7. See, this is important, and please try to please pay attention. This is important. See, it is difference of the sums of digits this should be either 0 or divisible by 11. Okay, in fact, 0 is divisible by all the natural numbers. So difference of the sum of the digit present at alternate position should be divisible by 11. For example, if we have this number, so I add digits present in alternate positions, these digits, and I add these. So if I add 1, 2, and 5, I get 8. And if I add 7, 8, 4, 7, so this is 26. Okay, so what we have done is this only till now, sum of the digits present in alternate positions. Now difference of these two sums, 26 and 8. So difference is 18. And since 18 is not divisible by 11, so that means the entire number is not divisible by 11. Is the rule for 11 clear to everyone, guys? Very good. Yaman, the rule for 6 is should be divisible by 2 and 3. Similarly, the rule for 12 is should be divisible by 4 and 3. For example, see if I take an example. So let us say we have this number. Okay. And we need to check it for 12. So we know rule for 4 is last two digits. This is the rule for 4. And for the rule for 3 is sum of the digits. So last two digit is 48. So we know 48 is divisible by 12. So 48 is divisible by 4. It is 12 times. Similarly, for 3, it is sum of the digits. So this digit is divisible by 3. 4 plus 8 is divisible by 3. 5 plus 1 is also divisible by 3. So I'm left with these two digits, which is 4 plus 4, that is 8. So since it is not divisible by 3, so that means it is not divisible by 12. For it to be divisible by 12, it needs to be divisible by 3 and 4 both. Okay, very good, Yaman. So let's move ahead. The next concept is the concept of HCF and LCM. Okay, we know LCM, it stands for lowest common multiple. HCF, it is the highest common factor. Okay. So let us say if I need to find the LCM of two numbers, LCM of these two numbers. Okay. So what do we do is we factorize the numbers. Factorize, that means break the number into its prime factors. So 54 can be written as 27 into 2. Okay, which is 3 cubed into 2. So that means we have broken down 54 into its prime factors. 2 and 3 are prime numbers. 90 can be written as 15 into 6, or we can write this as 2 square, sorry, not 2 square, 2 into 3 square into 5. Okay, that means we have first factorized the number, and I would not recommend this method, the conventional method of breaking the number. So this is how we used to do in the school. You divide it by 2, you get 45, then divide it by 3, you get 15, then again divided by 3, you will get 5, then this. So this is how we used to do it in school. But what we suggest is you can break 90 into any two numbers. We can write this as 15 into 6 or 10 into 9. Then 10 is 2 into 5, 9 is 3 into 3. So this is a quicker way of doing this. Okay, so once we have got this, so LCM, in LCM we take higher powers. So here we have 2 raised to the power 1, and in this also we have 2 raised to the power 1. So LCM would be 2 raised to the power 1 only. Here we have 3 cube, and here we have 3 square. So the higher power is cube. So I'll take cube. And similarly, here we don't have any power of 5. Here we have 5 raised to the power 1. So higher would be 5 raised to the power 1 only. So this is the LCM. Similarly, in HCF, what we do is we take smaller powers. So if I need to find this HCF of these two, so the smaller power would be 2 raised to the power 1, 3 raised to the power 2. And since here we do not have any power of 5, so in HCF also we will not have any power of 5. That means we will take smaller of the two values. Is this clear, guys, how to find LCM and HCF? HCF for the, just for more better understanding, if I look at these two numbers, so multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on. These are the multiples of 6. Multiples of 8, and so on. So we can see that common multiples are 24, 48. These are common multiples. These are common multiples, and so on. Okay, we'll get infinite common multiples. So the lowest among them, that is the LCM, is 24. Okay, and which we can find by the method that I discussed. 6 is 2 into 3 and 8 is 2 cube. So LCM would be, we will take higher powers, that is 2 cube and 3 raised to the power 1. Similarly, HCF would be just 2 because we take lower power. So it is 2 raised to the power 1, 2 cube. So I'll take 2 raised to the power 1. And since we do not have any power of 3, so we will not have any power of 3 in HCF. And you can see what HCF stands for. We write down the factors of 6. 6 is divisible by 1, 2, 3, and 6. A number is always divisible by 1, and a number is always divisible by itself. So these are the factors of 6, and these are the factors of 8. So the common factors we can see are these two, and highest among them is 2. So one more thing to note here is HCF would always be, HCF of two numbers would always be less than or equal to the smaller number, while LCM would always be more than or equal to the bigger number. Is this clear, guys? Any confusion or any doubt in this LCM and HCF? Then there is one more thing, very important point, guys. If we have two numbers, let us say P is this and Q is this. So LCM of the two numbers would be how much? 2 raised to the power 3, 3 raised to the power 4, 5 raised to the power 4, and 7 raised to the power 3. Higher powers of these two. Higher power is this only because in the in P we do not have any power of 5, so it has to be 5 raised to the power 4, and similarly for 3 also, and then for 2. Similarly, HCF of P and Q, it is 2 raised to the power 2, that means smaller powers, and 7 square. We will not have any power of 3 or 5 in HCF. Okay. Then we know this concept that if we multiply the numbers, then powers get added. We add the powers. Okay. So if I multiply P and Q, what you will get is 2 raised to the power 5. We will add these powers. 3 raised to the power 4, 5 raised to the power 4, and 7 raised to the power 5. Similarly, if I multiply their LCM and HCF, what I'll get is the same value. You can check this. We'll get the same value. So this is a very important concept, guys. That is, product of two numbers is equal to the product of their LCM and HCF. But it is valid for two numbers, not for more than two numbers. We can say this for two numbers. Whenever we multiply the two numbers, the product is same as the product of the LCM and HCF of the two numbers. So this is an important concept, guys. Please remember this. Is this clear, guys? Good. Then, guys, see, where do we apply LCM? The application is very important. Okay, we apply LCM when two or more events happen at regular interval. We apply LCM. For example, if I say there are two traffic signals, this one turns green after every 3 minutes, while signal T2 turns green after every 2 minutes. So if I need to find when both T1 and T2 would turn green simultaneously, when would both the signals turn green simultaneously? So what do we do is we find the LCM of the two. So they will turn green simultaneously after every 6 minutes. Okay, you can see that this will turn green after 3 minutes, then 6, then 9, then 12, and so on. This will turn green after 2 minutes, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So we can see that both will turn green after 6 minutes. So whenever events happen after regular interval, we apply LCM. Is this clear, guys? And similarly, whenever we need to divide a given thing into smaller parts, in such scenarios, we apply the concept of HCF. Example, see, if I say there is a rectangular floor, if there is a rectangular floor, okay, this is a rectangular floor of dimensions 6 meters by 8 meters. And if it needs to be covered by square tiles, okay, it needs to be covered by square tiles, and I need to find minimum number of identical square tiles needed to cover this. So what we do is we find the HCF of 6 and 8, which is 2. So if I use square tiles of dimension 2 units to cover this, I will be requiring minimum number of tiles. So see, you can see here that I will use 3 tiles to cover this. If each tile is of dimension 2 units, since this entire is 6, so if I use 3 tiles of dimension 2, so this breadth would be covered. And similarly, I can cover this length using 4 tiles along this length. Each is of 2, this is 2, this is 2, and so on. So how many tiles do I require? Number of tiles is I need to cover a total area, that is floor area, by area of tiles. So floor area is 6 into 8. Area of one tile is 2 into 2. So you require 12 tiles. And I've made the diagram just for better understanding. The floor. 6 and 8 ka LCM is 2. Concept for the day is how to find unit digit of a number. Finding the unit digit. Okay. See guys, if I want to find the unit digit of this, so it is a very simple process. We divide 50 by 4. Okay. So we get remainder as 2. If you divide 50 by 4, remainder, R means remainder. Okay. I'll be using R for remainder. So remainder is 2. So the unit digit of this would be same as the unit digit of this. That means I will, instead of 50, I will put the power as the remainder, which is 2. So we know 2 square unit digit is 4. The last digit is 4. Similarly, if I need to find the, let us say, unit digit of this, so I will divide this 35 by 4. Remainder is 3. So what you'll do is, instead of 35, I'll write 3. And the unit digit is 7, because 3 cube, this is 27. So unit digit is 7. Similarly, if I have to find the unit digit of this, so I will divide the power by 4. Remainder is 2. So instead of 30, I will put power as 2. So this is 9, because this value is 49. This whole thing is 49. So unit digit is 9. Okay, now what if we get, is this much clear guys, how to find the unit digit of a given number? We will always divide it by 4 and we will look for the remainder. Whatever the remainder is, we will raise the number to that power. Good, Arbush, very good. Okay, Surya, unit digit. Okay, unit digit, that means the last digit of the number. The unit digit, that is the last digit of the number. So if I am interested in finding the unit digit of, let's say, this number, okay, how much would be the last digit? So what we do is we divide this power by 4 and we find the remainder. In this case, it is 2. So instead of this power, what we do is we find this value. That means I will replace the power by the remainder on division by 4. So which is 2. So 3 square we know is 9. So unit digit would be 9. Similarly, if I'm interested in finding the unit digit in this case, so I will divide this by 4 and I will check for remainder, which is 1. So which is this. So unit digit is 3. Similarly, if I am interested in finding the unit digit in this case, so I will divide the power by 4 and I will look for remainder, which is 3. So it is same as 3 cube, which is 7, because 3 cube, this is 27 and the unit digit is 7. Is this clear, Surya? This will hold true for any number. Okay, very good, Surya. So one more thing that you need to keep in mind here is, if we have such a number, 2 raised to the power 40, where this power is completely divisible by 4. Here we will get remainder as 4. So we will not do this. We will not do this. Okay, so please remember this, guys. We will not do this. In such a scenario, what we do is, if this power is completely divisible by 4, then we raise the number to the power 4, which is 6 because this value is nothing but 16. So unit digit is 6. Whenever the power is a multiple of 4, we will check the number raised to the fourth power, the unit digit of that. So the smallest such number is given by the smallest such number is given by LCM of the divisor 34 and 51 plus the common remainder. Okay, because we know if instead of 20 as the remainder, if the remainder would have been 0, so it is nothing but LCM of 34 and 51. A number when divided by 34 and 51 leaves 0 remainder, so that means it must be a multiple of 34 and 51. But instead of 0, we want remainder to be 20, so answer would be this. So 34, it is nothing but 17 into 2. 51, it is nothing but 17 into 3. 51 is 17 into 3. So LCM would be nothing but 17 into 2 into 3, which is 102. So the answer would be 102, which is LCM, plus the common remainder, that is 20. So it is 122. So which of the following is greatest? So if I look at option B, C, and D, so both have the same base. So I will just compare the powers. Okay. For option B, the power is this. For option C, the power is this. And for option D, the power is this. So 22 square we can find, it is 484. Then this can be written as, first I need to solve this part, which is 2 raised to the power 4, and it is 16. So the powers are 222, 484, and 16. So can we say definitely out of these three, this one is the greatest? Okay, and you don't need to check. Definitely out of these three, this one is the greatest. Okay, and you don't need to check power 5 or 2 raised to the power 10. If you know these values, so this is 32. 2 raised to the power 10 is this. That is 32 into 32, which is 1024. And can we say 2 raised to the power 11 would be how much? 2 raised to the power 10 into 2. That is 2048. So in fact, this is less than 2 raised to the power 12 also. So here we have all the values greater than that. So A in fact is the smallest. So the largest is this. This is the greatest. Okay, followed by this, second largest. Option D is third largest and A is the smallest. Is this clear, Surya, the seventh one? Okay, very good, Surya. So let's move to the next question. Anyone who wants to ask any doubt in this question, please feel free to ask, guys. If there is no doubt, you can just type in yes or clear. Okay, HCF is of two numbers is 11 and their LCM is this. Sum of the numbers is this. You need to find the numbers. Okay, so guys, the simplest way of doing this is you can use the options. Okay, so if I look at these two, A option, numbers are 11 and 99. So we can check that their HCF is 11. The highest common factor of these two is 11, while the LCM is 99. So that is why A is ruled out. If I look at B option, it is 77 and 99. So HCF you can find, it is 11. Okay, and in fact, A can be ruled out just by looking at the sum. It is given the sum is 176. So here the sum is also not 176. So in fact, I don't need to do this also. Okay, the second option, HCF is this, and LCM of the two numbers, 77 and 99. So it is 11 into 7 into 9, which is how much? This is 11 into 63 or 693. So in the second option, HCF is 11, LCM is this, and their sum, if I add these two, so sum is also 176. So it is satisfying all three conditions. So has to be B option. Is the 10th question clear, guys? The unit digit, that means the last digit of all three products would be same, because unit digit depends upon only these two parts. It is independent of the other part. So in all three cases, we have the same unit digits in the numbers. So the unit digit in the product would be 6 in each case. Is this concept clear to you guys, or are you aware of this from before? Okay, Arush, very good. Good, Shraddha. Good, Har. Not rare also, this part is not relevant. So what we are left with is 5 raised to the power 761 into 1 raised to the power 1604 and 4 raised to the power this. So we know 1 raised to the power anything always ends with 1. So this is 1 only. Now 5 raised to the power 761. So what we do is we divide this by 4 and remainder is 1. So it is same as this. So what you'll get is 5 only here. Similarly, this part. So divide this power by 4. Remainder is again 1. So it is same as 4 raised to the power 1, that is 4. So unit digit is 0. Please even, okay, 215 or any number ending with 5, if I multiply it by any even number, the unit digit is always 0. 5 into 2, 5 into 4, 5 into 6, 5 into 8. You can check that unit digit in each case would be 0. So since this is a number ending with 5 and this is an even number, because guys, even into odd is even. So this is odd, this is even. So product, the overall thing would be even. So 5 into even would be 0 always. So in this particular question, I don't need to do anything. If there is a 5 and the rest of the number is 0, ending and rest of the number is even, then the unit digit would always be 0. Now let's move to the next question. 12. X and Y are two positive integers such that xy is 36. Which of the following cannot be the value of x plus y? So this is a simple question. Simple reasoning is there. X into y is 36. So in how many ways can I write 36? It is 1 into 36. It can be 2 into 18. It can be 3 into 12. It can be 4 into 9 or it can be 6 into 6. So x plus y. In this case, it is 1 plus 36, that is 37. In this case, it is 2 plus 18. Third case, it is 15. In the fourth case, it is 13. In the fifth case, it is 12. So can we say it can never be 40? It can be 37, can be 20, can be 15, can be 13, can be 12, but it can never be 40 because I've written down all the ways of writing 36. Is this 12th question clear to everyone, guys? See, which is 1, for example, HCF of numbers. Co-primes are those numbers which have HCF as 1. Okay, if two numbers have HCF as 1, for example, HCF of 4 and 9 is 1, so they are co-prime. Okay, HCF of 5 and 6 is 1, so they are co-prime. Okay, so this is the meaning of HCF. Now, I need to find how many numbers less than 40 are co-prime to 40. So guys, there is a very simple formula for that. Okay, if you want to check it for 40, so just factorize 40. 40 is this, 2 cube into 3 into 5. No, not this. It is 2 cube into 5 only. Okay, it is 2 cube into 5. This is 40. So the formula says the value is this. Which is 16. So in general, the formula is this. For any number, if I say it can be written as this, if it can be written like this, so the formula says for P1, I will have 1 up minus 1 upon P1. For P2, I will have 1 minus 1 upon P2. For P3, I will have 1 minus 1 upon P3. This into n is the answer. So here we have 2. So what we have done is, this is nothing but 1 minus 1 upon 2. This is 4 by 5, which is nothing but 1 upon 1 minus 5. And into n. N is 40. So this is how we get this. Okay, and what is the logic and how you can check this? See, if I write down, so any multiple of 2 and any multiple of 5 will not be co-prime to 40. Because if I find HCF of 2 and 40 or HCF of 4 and 40 or HCF of 10 and 40, so you will see that in none of these cases, the HCF would be 1. Okay, so if you want HCF to be 1, so it should not be a multiple of 2 and it should not be a multiple of 5. So you just need to check those numbers. Okay, and why we are doing it? Because we know every fifth number is a multiple of 5. So from 1, we are subtracting 1/5 of the numbers. From 1, we are subtracting half of the numbers. So half because every second number is a multiple of 2. So that is why I am subtracting half. So you can see here that these numbers are co-prime to 41, 3, then we have 7, then there is 9, then there is 11, 13, then 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 27, 29, 31, 33, 37, 39. So you can check that these are the numbers. So we are getting 16. So these are the 16 numbers. If I find HCF of 40 with any of these numbers, you will find it to be 1. HCF of 40 and 9 would be 1. HCF of 40 and I think this is 15. I have written extra. So it is 6, 5, 5. Yes. So HCF of 40 or 21, you will find this value to be 1. HCF of 40 and 27, you will find it to be 1. So answer would be 16. There are 16 such numbers. And this is the definition of co-prime. And the formula is this. So I've written 40 as this, where P1, P2, P3 are co-prime. Sorry, are prime numbers. P1, P2, and P3 are prime numbers. That means I have factorized 40. First, you need to factorize 40, then apply this formula, you'll get the answer. But I don't think this question is relevant at your level. Is this clear? So that means this dimension is 646 centimeter because 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And this dimension is 306 centimeter. This can be written as 300 centimeter plus 6 centimeter. Okay, so I need to find the minimum number of square tiles. Okay, so see, in order to minimize these square tiles, I should have the largest possible square tiles. So dimension of the square tiles, dimension of square tiles that we'll be using is nothing but HCF of 646 and 306. So if I factorize 646, so this is how much? 2 into 3, 2, 3. And this can be further written as 323 is divisible by which number? 17. Yes, Arush, it is divisible by 17. It is 17 into 9. Okay. No, not 9. 17 into yes, 90. So this is 646. And then we have 306. So 306 is 2 into 153. So 153 is 9 into 70. So HCF is nothing but we will take smaller power. So the smaller power is 2. Then we have 17 also. And then there is 19. And here we have 9. So nothing is common. So this is the HCF, that is 34. So number of tiles needed. This we discussed. It is area of floor by area of tiles. So area of floor is 646 into 306. Area of a square tile would be 34 into 34. So if I divide it by this 34, so I'll get 19. And here if we do this, you'll get 9. So we require 19 into 9, that is 171 tile. Plus 49 by 576, it can be written as this. This is 625 by 576. And we need the square root of this thing. So 625 is nothing but 25 square and 576 is nothing but 24 square. So this is 25 by 24. So what we have is 25 by 24 is equal to 1 plus 25 by x. So we can write 25 by x as 25 by 24 minus 1, which is 1 by 24. So how much is x? X is nothing but 25 into 24, that is 600. this is equal to this. So x is 25 into 24. That is C option. Square of 1.98. Here what we have is a square of 0.033. So if I look at this, this is a very basic formula of algebra. It is a square plus twice ab plus b square. So if I say a is 1.98 and b is 0.033, so can we say this should be 2ab? So it should be 2 times 1.98 into 0.033. Because we have a square here, this is a square and this is b square. In order for this whole thing to be a perfect square, can we say this is a square plus b square plus 2ab? It is a perfect square. It is a square of a plus b. Okay, so for this thing to be a perfect square, can we say this value, the middle term, should be equal to 2ab. That is 2a is 1.98 and b is 0.033. So from here, you will get the value of 5, which is 2 into 1.98 into 0.033 by 0.99. And it is twice of this. So answer is 4 into 0.033, which is 0.132. That is D option.